Hey friends, this is day 53. Guess what? We've got about 53, 66. Well, we got 13 more days to go. And yeah, I'm excited about this. We're talking today. Yesterday we talked First Thessalonians. Today is Second Thessalonians. And we're going to continue that theme of hope, but this time it's hope with responsibility. All right. So imagine confusion around the end of times, right? And because the world is coming to an end, some people engage in just idleness. They just sit there, and others were despairing, right? So Paul is writing to them, and he wants to encourage people to. I once saw a bumper sticker. It says, "Jesus is coming soon. Act busy." You could take that theme and sort of superimpose it to what was going on in the church, in the Thessalonian church, right? So Paul writes to them, and his goal is to clarify some misunderstanding and to call the believers to, how do I call it? A little bit of a responsible living, right? Yes, the world will come to an end. Yes, Christ is coming, but you don't have to be idle. You don't have to despair. You don't have to quote unquote act busy. You can live in such a way that honors the coming of Christ, but also makes you a kind of this light in the world, right? So we're living in this duality of living in the world, but also expecting Christ coming. Couple of key verses in Second Thessalonians is the Lord is faithful; He will strengthen you. Right, that is Second Thessalonians 3:3. Second Thessalonians 3:13. It says, "Do not grow weary in doing good works." And Second Thessalonians 2:2 says, "The coming of the Lord is near." I just want you to think about this. This has been over 2,000 years. What does it say that Paul writes to this community, and he says to them, the coming of the Lord is near? That word near, one translation says, is imminent. It reminds us that Christians in the first century actually believed that in their lifetime, they would see the second coming of Christ. They really believed, as they were going through Roman persecution, Paul was writing to them and say, hold on, because Christ is coming soon. Okay? It's been over 2,000 years since this letter was written, right? So, what does that say to you? How do you think of hope? How do you think of perseverance? So, the other reason Paul writes this is to kind of address some false teachings about the day of the Lord and again the coming of the Lord. And he's urging them to remain steadfast, to have a good work ethic in the meantime. Okay, so you don't just act busy because Jesus is coming, right? You actually live your life in such a way that honors God. So this letter balances the eagerness and the anticipation of Christ's coming with some very sober responsibilities of the now. There's an old saying, I heard this many years ago. Martin Luther was asked, what if you knew for sure that Christ was coming tomorrow? What would you do? And one version says, Martin Luther said, I would plant a tree, meaning even when Christ comes, the work of God in remaking the world goes on, right? So Christ coming doesn't mean that we, drop everything. And no, we live every day as if Christ would come tomorrow, but we live every day as if he's coming another 1,000 years. All right. So this idea of responsible living is what Second Thessalonians is all about. All right, a couple quick takeaways as we wrap up. Number one, you guard against spiritual misinformation. There's so much stuff out there. Guard against those things. Number two, keep working and serving faithfully. If Jesus is coming tomorrow, you don't stop coming to church today. You just continue living the way God's called you to live. And number three, you trust God's timing for justice and for restoration. So your faith matters, according to Second Thessalonians. Live your life, let your light so shine so that others will see your good works and glorify God in heaven. And I want you to know that He's got you.